everybody. I'd like you to all roll a d20 for me.
I got a 13.
5.
12.
16.
Hey!
Oh, and he's back.
Back in the saddle again. Chowder.
Previously on Dice Populi. So, the gang knows where the final crystal fountain is. They know it's at the bottom of a cliff. Then they find the cave, and in the cave, there is, a crystal fountain. The writings of Misak. He is going down the weird rabbit hole of Laima time experiments as well, same as Yanis, same as Fenwick. Turns out they were all having a race to obtain unnatural time powers and resulted in this time fuckery. Everyone decides, you know what, whatever they wanted, let's just end it. And they activate the final fountain, end up back where they started, town square, indistinct body on the ground, 3 floating crystals. This time, all of them are filled in with no silhouettes. And everyone's like, yeah, sweet, now what? And then somebody activates these crystals, like we've done with any crystal we've come across. And time fuckery goes into overdrive, and now there's a time-locked horror in front of us that's like a fusion, amalgamation of these 3 people and their hate and greed and every negative thing, and just like it's a monster, and it's like, oh god, I'm imagining something from Bloodborne, like.
Honestly, yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking of is also.
And the last thing spoken in the previous episode was roll for initiative.
Was that our cue roll? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's a 9.
It's a 9. Okay.
Fucking
9 total.
jabroni.
It's a 9 and a 10.
I also got a 10. Fuck.
All right.
Wonderful.
Come to that in a sec. What'd you get, Maeve?
17 plus 3.
Question, do I still have my familiars out? How long has it been?
It has been maybe a half hour, so those mice are still there. I'll get to that in a sec. Who has higher dex?
Yep.
Actually, probably Chowder, because you're a rogue.
I got higher dex.
You only have a higher dex by 1. Let's not act all high and mighty over here, okay?
Yeah, but I got +4. What do you got, man? Oh, that's right, +3, nerd.
I slapped Jetta.
Oh my god. Oh man, slap.
Clap, clap, clap.
Nice.
And the jet takes off again. Okay, so, setting the scene once again. The town square has dissolved in front of you and been replaced with a combination of the 3 fountain rooms. Similar to the Void, the large sphere in which you could discern timelines and navigate between them, it seems as though physical reality has been forced into this same shape. You're in a single dome with a fractured fountain in the center, flickering between realities like the corrupted town in which you just stood. There are bits of rubble, bits of brush, bits of foliage and topiary work that Kalt still finds unimpressive, scattered around the room, creating an uneven landscape. But you are, in fact, trapped in this tri-split room. You hear the rain, you see the sunset, and you feel the wind of midnight as you are stuck with a giant floating orb of twisted stalks with eyes at the end, or hands in a single large eye and gaping mouth, as you hear the combined screams of these 3 individuals that have been time-locked into this new abomination. The culmination of their power has led here. Maeve, what do you do?
That's a great question. I would like to cast telekinesis on it if I can.
Okay.
It needs to make a strength check versus my charisma check.
Really? Charisma?
Mm-hmm. Because
Interesting.
I'm a charisma caster.
Yep. Okay. Let me roll this.
I got an 18 plus 5.
I got a 10.
Okay, cool. If I win the contest, I can move the creature up to 30 feet in any direction, including upward, but not beyond the range of the spell. Until the end of my next turn, the creature is restrained in my telekinetic grip. A creature lifted upward is suspended in midair. So I'm basically going to hold it in place and kind of lock it down as I'm concentrating on that.
Let me look up the definition of restrained. I think I actually have this page
Your
up.
move speed is 0, and we have advantage on attacks against you.
And then
Gotcha.
you have disadvantage on dexterity
Dex
checks,
saves.
and when you make attacks, they're at disadvantage. That's
Okay.
this week that did that.
Very good.
And I'm gonna take a How far apart are we right now?
I'd say that you are each maybe about 20 feet from this creature.
Gotcha.
Again, this room is a circle, and there are bits of debris that you can use as cover scattered all around. But in the center, where this weird time-broken fountain is, the monster floating in the air is right next to it.
Okay.
So it's dead center. You guys are all like equidistant from that.
I'm gonna shift it like away from the fountain, maybe about like 10 or 15 feet, and then
Sure.
I'll use my own movement to try to take cover behind debris.
You successfully do both of those things. The screaming maw is yanked sideways, and you hear it yelp in many different voices as it is thrust away from the fountain. And its gaze, while not locked on you before, slowly turns towards you. But you have entered cover and are hidden from it. Everybody else, you see this happen as it is looking directly at Maeve. I said equidistant, but I guess starting, I'll let you each tell me. How close are you all standing to each other?
I imagine we're just
I
like
figured we'd be right next to each other.
Kind of grouped up. Yeah, I would imagine.
at most 5 feet apart, yeah, because we're
Yeah.
right next to.
I was just gonna say, how big is the room that we're in? Did you say
It's
that?
a little larger than the void. The void was about a 30-foot diameter. I'm going to say this is maybe 50 feet. So this is not a very large room, but it's like a 50-foot sphere, and you're in the top half of that sphere.
Gotcha.
It's just a
Gotcha.
dome over that. So there's plenty of cover to move between, but you really can't get out of this space given its strange supernatural qualities.
And I rolled a 10 on wild magic, so nothing crazy happens there. As
Very good.
Maeve
Thank you.
ducks behind cover and just like, okay, what do we do now?
And after Maeve asks that question, the gaze of this single-eyed, many-stalked creature intensifies as it stares directly at Maeve. Is anybody in cover with her, or are you guys scattered?
We'd all be kind of standing, I think, right? Because we haven't had a chance to move.
Yeah.
I didn't determine the position, so I'll let you guys tell me how you were huddled as this all sort of took place.
I was just like standing. I wasn't expecting a fight.
Yep.
So I'll say the three of you are standing near each other, but Maeve has moved several feet off to the side behind her own cover, and you see that the gaze of this thing is transfixed on the broken slab of brick jutting out from the ground. So the gaze is broken, but it is focusing on her location. It cannot move, but what it can do is focus its many magical energies upon her. And it is going to cast, and I think Ryan, at the very least, will key into what I'm using here. It is going to use the action Eye Raise.
Oh my god.
It's a fucking beholder. Gotcha.
It's a reskinned beholder.
Beholder, I hardly know her.
Because when you said he was going to cast magic, he's like, oh, maybe I can counterspell. Then you're like, I raise. I was like, never mind.
So is this is treated as half cover right now?
I would say you're small enough that if you're crouched, I can treat this as full cover.
Okay, then if I have full cover, then it can't see me.
Yes, correct. Yeah, its gaze is broken.
Okay.
If this is basically a beholder analog, when its eye is focused on us, does
There's an
Maeve...
anti-magic code.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, does Maeve feel non-magical in this moment?
I am going to let you know how you all feel when it is appropriate.
All right, gotcha.
Maeve, you, after asking what we're all going to do, you hear a barrage of impacts and sparks of energy against the cover behind which you sit. Though it is already made of stone, you hear it begin to crumble as bits of dust break off of it. You don't know what's happening, but there is a volley being launched at you. You're protected by full cover, but everybody else, you see what this thing is doing. Each stalk is throwing out a different spell, and you see a blast of various colors hit these bricks, and they begin to shake and crumble under their weight. Maeve is safe, thanks to this cover, for the moment, and its turn is ended. It is still transfixed on her location.
Yikes.
All right.
Jetta, you see all this happen, and the kind of threat that you are facing. Standing out in the open, what do you do?
First, I call out the mice. All right, Stuart, you stay where you are on my head. That's Stuart. Stuart.
Oh my god.
All right, Ratatouille. Get
Get the chopping.
to Locke.
There better be cheese in this for me! As it leaps from your shoulder and onto Locke's.
If we make it out of this, anything you want, man.
It believes you because it doesn't know it will cease to exist in about 28 minutes.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing. These are just like fae spirits that I just call upon, so they probably go back to wherever they came from. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm imagining this is like the wizards in Tolkien, where like they did exist before, but now they're a new thing with new memories.
Jerry to call. And what I'm gonna do mechanically is like have all these familiars have the help action on.
Yeah.
So that we get advantage on whatever we choose to do.
That's clever as fuck. You can also basically see from everyone else's perspective now.
Exactly.
This is a very smart usage of this particular spell. I mean, it doesn't take an action to command them, does it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I thought just casting it was. Anyways, this thing is still focused on Maeve as the mice disperse from you and onto your allies. What do you do next?
Locke, you and I are going to take the front lines. Hopefully we can divert some of these attacks onto us. And I charge in and use my final second level spell slot to cast Misty Step to teleport behind it. Does it even have a behind?
Oh, it's got a behind because I'm going to kick it.
There are many different, parts of faces and eyes all over it, but there is the one single massive eye at its front. It is about 20 feet away from you, off to the side of the room, so Misty Step should be able to get you behind it if that's what you're looking to do.
I do that, and then I use my action to attack it.
And you have advantage.
Yep. 15.
Can you describe the nature of your attack, and I'll tell you what happens?
I teleport behind it, and then with my rapier, I let out a quick stab at it.
You jab out the sword, knowing that its gaze is not fixed on you, but one of the stalks doesn't have an eye at the end, but instead a hand, and it reaches out to swat the rapier away. You slash into its hand, but the damage is so minor, you understand that it knew you were coming and was able to deflect the attack, and you have not caused any damage.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be more surprised if a thing covered in eyes could get snuck up on.
Yep. And that's where we move to Locke. What do? You have Ratatouille on your shoulder. Maeve is behind cover. Jetta is across the room. You stand next to Kalt. What do you do?
How far away is Amalgamation Boy?
The time lock abomination is 20 feet away.
Okay, I am going to sprint, and when I get 10 feet from it, I'm going to leap and swing my halberd at it.
Fantastic. Make an attack roll.
Do I also have advantage because of the Helpy Boy?
Does help give you a plus, or does it give you advantage?
Advantage.
Either way, it has advantage because it's restrained.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yep.
Hell yeah. This is going to get a little wonky because I attack 3 times when I take the attack action.
I understand.
So the first one was a 21. The other one is a 29.
Yeah, boy.
And then a 20, unnatural.
You leap into the air, preparing for a fury of blows. Please roll damage on all 3 of those attacks for me.
Hell yeah.
The first one is 12 damage. It's all slashing BT dubs. Then 11 damage. And then 15 damage.
And you know what I'm going to do next level? I'm going to try and get some buff spells for Locke. I think Locke needs a couple of buffs for damage.
Yeah, he's not really pumping out those numbers, you know?
You mean haste?
I mean, they could be even higher.
I mean, I could just action surge into it all again, but I'm not gonna right now.
Yeah. Locke, you land a glancing blow across this thing's face, spinning it in place, and once your feet are planted on the ground, you swing your halberd out 2 more times, slashing some of the stalks, watching bits of flickering, grotesque skin flake off and sink to the ground. You have done considerable damage to this thing as it floats in the air, but when it stops moving as a result of the attack, its eye is now fixed on you. Are there any other things you're going to be doing this turn?
I am a dummy, and I should have done this ahead of time, but I didn't, so shame on me. I am going to bonus action use Hex on the boy.
Well, you're casting Hex on this thing, right?
Correct.
The thing that's looking right at you?
Yes.
You go to cast Hex, and you are unable to summon the spell. You feel as though the power is drained from you. The same strange pressures and thrusts that you felt while being whipped around the time-bending tunnels are in effect here, and the spell does not form while you are in direct eye line of this creature.
Oh well. I don't need the extra damage.
But, so the creature stares dead at you. You go to summon Hex and you can't. And it is as you are attempting to cast the spell and failing that we turn our attention to Kalt. What do you do?
Ooh, it's my turn. Okay, I am going to cast Blindness.
Okay.
That old classic. That is a Constitution saving throw. It has to meet or beat a 17.
Okay. That's a big old whiffaroonie on that. That's a 13 total.
Hey, it's blind now. I don't know if that affects the cone or anything, but
It doesn't
blind.
affect the cone, but it is blind and it cannot see.
So it can't
anything at the moment.
see where it's aiming the cone.
Correct.
So I will also, I'll move myself to try and put myself around a little cover.
Okay.
Completely cover myself. And then after seeing its eye kind of go, I guess, like maybe milky or something like that. It's blind now. Maybe it'll help.
You and Maeve are still in the sort of the midnight third of this room, and you crossed from behind the broken brick into the bit of topiary work and glass and you feel the warmth of the sunset on your back as the eye of this thing turns to look at you, but when it does is immediately clouded over, and you see only the reflection of the room in its eye as your spell has taken effect. Maeve, you have heard your friends get to work. You don't know everything that's happened aside from the fact that Kalt blinded it. Mm-hmm. And what do you do now?
I am going to use my action to try to maintain control of it.
So do I roll on this turn or my turn?
You roll now.
Okay. That, my friend, is what we call a natural 20.
Did you roll disadvantage because of Hex? Oh, no, Hex didn't work.
Hex didn't go off.
I got a 19. So you are free to move this turn. However, I'm still concentrating on the spell.
That's fair. You are still positioned behind cover, and there is no direct line of sight, correct?
Oh, okay. I take it back. I have to pop up and look at the creature when I go to exert control. So I don't know if that changes anything.
I'll say that puts you behind half cover.
Okay, that's fine.
So you are now revealed, but you also know the creature is blind and that this may turn things to your advantage. It is now the turn of this abomination as it spins about wildly, and it feels spells being pressed onto it, though it shakes them off. It can't use that to determine a location, so it will blindly reach out with its stalks in its mouth and attempt to attack the two creatures it knows are directly next to it. The thing is, I can't have it attack you directly because it doesn't know you're there. It doesn't know exactly where you are.
So, I mean, a lot of times, like, for the rules of stealth, you still know where the creature is. Like, it's just inferenced by, like, sound and stuff.
That's fair. Okay.
Either way, mechanically speaking, you roll with disadvantage.
All right. So the last place it was looking was between Kalt and Locke, so it's going to just lash out in front of it with its stalks and mouth. And Locke, I know the answer to this, but I need you to tell me, does a 9 hit?
It's a close one, but it does not.
All right. You, Locke, are looking at this thing's eye cloud over as it begins to sort of like wriggle around furiously, and it lashes out at you, but you are easily able to sidestep this attack, and its momentum carries it forward as it moves across the room away from you and Jeddah, and now sits closer to Kalt than anybody else, though Kalt is behind half cover. Kalt, I'd like to ask, how long does the blind spell last?
A minute.
Do I get to make checks on behalf of this thing to shake the spell?
That's a great question. You can blind or deafen a foe. Choose one creature that you can see within range. Constitute saving throw. It fails, target's blinded. For the duration, at the end of each of its turns, the target can make a con save. So yeah, at the end of each of its turns, it gets to make.
Let's go ahead and do that.
That's the meter beat of 17.
Well, I got a 16, so this thing is still flailing about wildly, and each stalk seems to be moving about with a lot of precision, as though each is trying to sense what's going on around it, reacting to other sensory stimuli in the room. So while it cannot see through its big eye, it has a sense of awareness, and you don't know the extent of that. It is now Jeddah's turn. This thing has floated away from where Locke... Actually, because it moves away, Locke, you can make an attack of opportunity.
Let's fucking go, bitch. That is a 23.
That's a 23. That hits.
That is 15 damage.
All right.
Damn, I do not have the thing that stops them from moving after I hit them. Okay.
Sentinel.
Like Sentinel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's only if they make an attack against... Oh, never mind. I do have it. Let's go!
Okay, so
Yep.
it can't move away?
Its
All
speed
right.
becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. So
The abomination lunges forward after you sidestep its attack, Locke, and you are able to grab one of its stalks and keep it from moving away. In reaction to that, it lets out a series of horrified screams, and you hear a quasi-familiar, if distorted, voice saying,
The Mage Lords can control this power!
and you recognize it as a distorted form of Fenwick. And you hear a thrumming behind you. as the fountain begins to react to the pained scream and magical dispersions this thing is throwing out. You are all ripped from this reality as the void transforms around you, and thrust through the tunnels of time once again. You land in the underground fountain room that Locke you initially saw in Cast. Kalt, you recognize this as where you fought Strauss, and you're all fairly disoriented at the situation. If you're behind cover, that cover is gone. The room is roughly the same shape and dimension, and there is a fountain at the center, not crystalloid, but flowing with silver liquid. And standing there is Commander Fenwick. None of you have seen him through this whole affair, and he stands and turns around and looks at you and says, "What are you all doing here? How did you find me? There's supposed to be guards standing."
Is the giant monster here?
No. It is just the fountain and Fenwick. The cover is gone, and you all stand in this open space in a strange quiet with only the sound of reverberation and silver liquid flowing.
Where'd he go? Where'd that scary dude go?
Scary? I think that my facial hair is quite well maintained. I demand to know why you are here. He looks over to what Kalt and Locke know used to be a portal, but it's closed, and he's stupefied. How did you guys get in this room without him knowing, or without guards catching you on the way in?
Fenwick, now is not the time. It can attack from anywhere.
What can attack from anywhere? I'm in the middle of something extremely important. I need you all to leave right now. We'll be dealt with and held at the keep. I will come speak to you after. And he shouts down the tunnel, "Guards! Guards!"
You know, you messing with time really isn't the best idea, you know.
And what would you know about it,
Well,
the Mage Lord presence on this island has been dwindled. We need to assert the supremacy that we were sent to establish, and this is how we do it.
Yeah, well, the way you're going about it is all wrong.
I don't have time for this. And he turns around and he starts walking towards the flowing fountain.
You gotta understand, your fiddling with time has unleashed a monstrosity onto us.
He doesn't turn to you and he says, "I don't really see how that's my problem."
If you destroy everything, if this monster destroys everything, what's left for you to rule? Or the Mage Lords to rule?
Whatever reality is, the Mage Lords will be in charge of it. That is the dictation. That is what matters.
So I'm still concentrating on telekinesis. Mm-hmm. I would love to try to restrain him. Could you make a strength check versus my charisma check, please?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is an 18.
Okay, give me a second, because I rolled like shit, but I think I can... Yeah, I'm going to Tides of Chaos this and give myself advantage.
All right, I'm going to have you roll Wild Magic on this for pulling in a Tides of Chaos.
Okay, cool, because I got a 19 plus 5, so 24. Mm-hmm. And now for Wild Magic, 11. So nothing.
Okay, nothing happens. This guy, Fenwick, turns around, his glorious mustache and mutton chops blowing in the breeze, and then suddenly stiffen as telekinesis takes hold of him, and he's frozen in midair. He's like, "You don't know what you're interrupting. You need to stop. If I don't complete this, everything will fall apart."
Well, you should probably explain just a little bit more, and, we could be nice about it and not involve the guards. I'm going to kind of turn him towards us.
So you turn him around and he sees all of you standing there sort of intimidated. It's like, "You hold knives at my neck and my arms back, and you consider this playing nice?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could be dead.
Would he recognize the others?
Let me actually roll a history check on his behalf. That's a 2. So no, he is blinded by his own madness. You guys got a sense of how this obsession took over the reasoning of both Masak and Yanis, and clearly Fenwick was not spared that particular mania. And he looks at all of you and he says, "You're not going to get answers from me, not until we've succeeded."
Well, what are you trying to do?
"We are trying to harness the power that was birthed to this island. There is a powerful domain here, one that the Mage Lords require.
It is not for you.
It's the silver blood of the gods. The natives swam in it, the villagers revered it, but it's meant to be used. For all his wrongdoing, Strauss, he was onto it. He figured out what this is. I can't let that go."
I look to the shimmering fountain. this right here, like
Don't touch it! Don't touch it! You don't know what you're doing.
I heed the warning and don't touch it, but I do look at it. Like I do want to look into it.
I'm going to look over at everyone and be like, there is no breaching this madness. We must put him out of his misery.
Jeddah, as Kalt is saying this, you step over to the fountain and glance in, and your vision is overtaken with memories past. You see the rolling hills of Nar Enial in its idyllic form, and are reminded of why you set out on this journey to begin with. Everyone else is grounded in the conflict, but for a moment, you are distracted by how this strange, time-bending liquid has affected your soul. You feel the stirring, and Kalt, you encourage everybody else to kill this man's.
Does everybody seem in agreement on that point?
But what if killing him is the thing that sets it all off?
Good point. And I'm going to cast, I'll cast Polymorph on him and see if it takes hold.
He sees you winding up to cast his spell, and he screams, Dariulme, oh Amarth! And everything around you grinds to a screeching halt, and the silver liquid in the fountain begins to slow and harden and solidifies into this sharp pink crystals that you are used to seeing as this reality falls away and is peeled back by the thrumming and loud sounds that you've come to experience every time you activate a crystalloid fountain. And you are all thrust back into the void, and the time-locked abomination stares at you with renewed anger. You are where you were before, in cover or not. Locke, it is now floating next to you, and you've stopped it from moving.
Did Fenwick travel with us or no?
He did not.
Okay.
Jeddah.
All right, I shake off the vision and I'm like, deal with the more immediate threat right now. I cast Booming Blade, which is a cantrip. You make a normal melee attack against a creature. On hit, the target suffers the weapon attack's normal effects, then becomes sheathed in booming energy until the start of your next turn. If the target willingly moves 5 feet or more before then, the target takes 1d8 thunder damage, and the spell ends.
It's going to be more damage because you're a higher level.
Yeah, it's increased, so it 5d8.
Do I roll a save against it, or does it just take effect?
It takes effect if I manage to hit you.
Then go ahead and make that an attack roll.
Yep, and, Stuart's given me the help action, so... Good thing, too. All right, 23.
Jeddah, you shake off the vision and very quickly get your wits about you. You see Locke restraining this flailing creature, and it doesn't take very long for you to get your wits about you. And when you go to cast this spell, unsure whether it will take effect, you feel your own resolve falter. This has been an extremely unusual 30 minutes of your life, and now being torn between realities twice and seeing your own past, feeling that stirring in your heart, you almost lose track of what you're doing until Stuart whispers in your ear, "You got this, mama." Jeddah, you are encouraged by your own strange familiar, and your Booming Blade is successfully cast upon this thing.
All right, I do get to make a normal attack damage. It's 17 altogether, so...
17 altogether. Okay,
Yep.
so that is noted. And what happens if I move more than 5 feet?
If you move more than 5 feet, it takes 3d8 of thunder damage.
That's if you move of your own accord, Colin. So, like, if somebody teleports you, it doesn't count, but if you try to move away...
Totally fair. Locke, you are still grabbing onto this thing's flailing stalk, and Jeddah has just cast a spell on it and slashed it in the back, doing some additional damage. Two of you stand next to each other with the mice on your heads and shoulders. The thing is sort of looking around away from you and just flailing. I know I've said that word before, but it's flailing. Locke, what do you do?
It's an accurate description. Oh, I do want to call out to Locke. Locke, let it go.
Okay. I will stop holding on to the stalk, and I will cast Hex. Does it actually work this time?
You are able to cast Hex.
Let's go. What was the
Strength.
strength? Every strength check. Bam.
Disadvantage. Okay, so the Abomination now has disadvantage on all strength checks.
But not saving throws. Not saving throws, just checks.
Thank you. What is that going to be your entire turn? Do you
Nope,
move?
because that's a bonus action, baby, and I'm attacking it.
There we go. All right. Go ahead and be aware that you don't have advantage on it any longer, but please
That's
roll
fine.
your attacks.
Wow.
He still does have Who'd I send to him? Ratatouille? Yeah, he still has Ratatouille giving him a help action.
Ratatouille.
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to undo anything that came before, but from here on out, I'm going to count you being able to get advantage from these things when resisting something. Either it's a save or a check, but I'm not given free advantage on every attack. That strains so much credulity.
No, that's fair. Like, I get that. Like, Flock of Familiars is a very powerful ability.
So anyway, I got a 31, a nat 20, and then a 26. Do any of those miss?
Certainly not.
You say a nat 20?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I rolled 40-10.
Yep.
And then I also have to add 3d6 for the necrotic.
One of those will be crit.
Yeah, he accounted for that.
That's why I hit with 3 attacks. I doubled one of them to be the 4d10. So that's 4 total d10.
Right, but the hex is also, because you're rolling dice, that gets double too. So you'd be rolling 4d whatever.
4d6.
Wait, what is how is Hex granting damage?
Hex happens holy shit. Every time I hit with an attack, it does an extra d6 of necrotic damage. So if we're doubling crit damage.
Yes.
That
Okay,
was,
good call.
That was a nutty fucking roll.
So that's what?
That's 56 slashing.
74 damage?
Yes, that's 56 slashing and 18 necrotic damage.
Holy cow.
I know that I have not used my action surge, so I'm going to do that now so I don't forget in the future. And I'm going to attack 3 more times.
Okay, go ahead and roll your attacks.
That's a 24, a 29, and damn, only an 18.
2 of those second attacks hit.
Okay, so 2d10 plus 16. That's 26 slashing and
25 hashing.
And an additional 5 necrotic.
Damn, son.
Damn, son.
I was really hoping that I'd be able to do 100 damage in that turn, but...
We're going to have to rename Mack trucks Locke trucks because Mack trucks hit like a lock.
Oh, I did do 100.
Jetta, you scream, let go. Locke does so, and with both hands ready to rumble, just slashes across this thing's backside so many times. 2 of the stalks fall clean off, and you see an eyeball wriggling on the ground next to a severed arm with way too many fingers. And this thing is just shrieking absolute bloody murder as you hear another voice, "We devoted our lives to a traitorous god!" And this sends another shock through the fountain. Once again, reality is ripped out from underneath you, and the triple reality gives way to the domed and beautiful garden behind Yanis's temple. And just like Fenwick, you see a floating fountain with Yanis standing in front of it, a trail of papers behind her. And she is approaching it briskly when she hears the 4 of you land on the ground. In this newly quieted space, she turns around and she says, "What? Who? Why are you here? Who are... What?" And she recognizes Locke and Kalt, and she says, "Why have you returned? This is not the time."
I didn't come here voluntarily. We're kind of in the middle of something.
You're not the only one. Listen, I think you did enough trying to establish peace here. It worked so well, didn't it? You should leave. There are more intelligent people doing more important things.
Hey, I'm not a dumb person. What's going on here? What's with the personal attack?
But for the record, I wanted to exterminate the Mage Lords to a man, but I was voted down.
I hold on to Yanis and I tell her, "Yanis, you got stop what you're doing. What your meddling has or will or had unleashed a monster onto everything."
Your grasp of grammatical tense is falling apart. I need you all to leave. Get your hands off of me. And she brushes Jetta's hands off of herself. And though she is old and frail, she has a tremendous amount of rage and attitude in her. If things were truly peaceful, would we still live in the quiet? How many people have lived on this island for so long, devoting their lives to her, only for her to speak to some greasy bird man and for you to sail away and we hear nothing?
Yanis, gods work in mysterious ways. Who is to say you have yet to hear her words? Maybe it is tomorrow. Maybe it is the day after, but this is madness.
I have lived too many tomorrows to still live in lonely silence.
You did not live in lonely silence. You lived a life. One does not live life for the words of a god. They live the life because it's what they are given.
I would like you to roll persuasion.
My worst stat. -2 to this, so let's go. That's a 13 minus 2, 11.
She tries to contain herself, but breaks into
Song.
a deep, heartfelt sob. Not song.
Breaks into song.
Everybody. She looks at you, and as she begins to sob, she slowly makes her way to the ground, not as a collapse, but just like someone. She slowly crouches, places down a hand, and like seats herself, and just cries into her hands, and she says, "The Mage Lords have such purpose, they'll take anything. The natives are so angry." Warm yellow light of the sun pours in through the greenhousey windows of this room. "After you left, it was just a slow drip. There was no violence, but sadness and weariness has taken over us. There are lines at the bread stand. This village is not what it used to be." And you're like snickering as she's pouring her heart out onto the floor.
No, that's Ryan.
Yeah.
That's Ryan, not Cole. When there's lines at the bread merchant, I was just
Yeah.
good callback.
Yeah. Maybe you couldn't fix it all before. Maybe nobody can, but why does it have to feel this bad?
Yanis, I know things have been rough, but we're trying to make things better. But this is only going to escalate things. You know that, don't you? A race to a super weapon? It'll only make the fighting worse.
You're right. You're right. I know you're right. But if they have it, then they are going to achieve what me and my congregation have always yearned for. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to spend it to eradicate each other. They'll kill each other. That's all they do. The oppressors walk in and destroy everything in their path, and they create a world of hatred and death, and somebody needs to stop it. Laima won't do it, so I have to try.
Laima can't do it. She's one part of a whole.
What do you mean one part of a whole?
It's a long story, but to put it simply, Laima is one part of a whole god. While powerful, Laima is but a fraction of that god's full power. The full might, maybe that can help us, and that's what we're trying to do. Unite the three parts.
She begins to wipe the tears from her eyes, and she just says, "I'm old. There's a part of me that just wants to know how to grow even older. I can't accept that when I leave, this connection will never happen." And she stops mid-sentence, and her eyes shoot open. And she looks around, she says, "Do you hear that?"
Hear what?
I'd like everybody to roll Arcana.
Ooh, something I'm good at.
Not perception.
That's a 5.
19.
3.
9. 9 altogether, yep.
That's a 7.
Jetta says, "Hear what?" And Kalt, you do hear a familiar voice. In fact, a cry you have heard yourself at least once over your not as long as it seems life. You hear the voice of Laima shout, "I cannot find you!" And you and Yanis are the only two reacting to this otherworldly call, as she is finally hearing the voice she has yearned to hear, the voice that you heard before. And she stands upright faster than anyone of her age and frailty seems like they should. "I'm right here! I'm right here! Do you see me?" Kalt, you hear the sort of flickering voices that you encountered last time you communed with this god, not of your own volition, and she begins to walk back toward the fountain, compelled anew by this calling from the god she has long sought approval from. And in the midst of those godly echoes, she screams the same words as Fenwick, "Dar Iulme, O Amar!" And the fountain explodes with power once again, wrapping you in crystal and dropping you back in the room with the wounded abomination.
Damn it, I thought we got to her. I'm assuming this is all just kind of meant to happen, but still.
You got to her. I'll say this right now. All this roleplay is 100% legit.
You know what? I say, the next one, we just go straight to Merkin. We don't even, we just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then just stab in the neck.
This is a family-friendly podcast. What are we doing with Merkins?
You know what I mean.
I know. Anyways, it is now your turn. You are so deeply frustrated by the fact that you got through to this, but there is just some godly bullshit that keeps throwing you back in this room over and over again.
All right, I'm going to whip out my fucking staff, and I'm going to slam it onto the ground, and I'm going to cast Negative Energy Flood using my staff, using 5 charges. It needs to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. You are not going to believe what I just rolled. And by saying that, you know what I just rolled.
Either a nat 20 or a...
Natural 20.
It still takes half damage, so...
Okay.
39 half.
19, I'll say. Round up.
It's like a bunch of sickly black tendrils kind of like rise from the floor and grab onto it. It doesn't
It doesn't have a status effect. But yeah, that's exactly what happens. You, in your frustration at the inevitability of parts of this encounter, lead to a series of tendrils rising from the ground, yanking at this thing's stalks, the ones that are still intact, as it becomes more haggard and more beleaguered by all the stress you are putting on it and that these warps through time are putting on it. And the combined voices of Yanis Fenwick and Masak continue to scream in unity. Do you have any other parts to your turn?
I'll move. I had to probably rise out of cover to do that. I'm going to see if I can find some good cover. Is like the room shifting, or are we just kind of like teleporting back and forth?
For the sake of simplicity, every time that we get yanked back to the room, I'm putting you back where you were before. I don't want to like punish you for something you can't.
I'll just duck. If I'm still behind cover, I'll just duck down behind that cover for safety.
I'll say that you're removed from half cover and into full cover by crouching low to the ground after casting your spell. Maeve, it is your turn. What do you do?
I'm going to try to hold this guy down again.
Okay.
Make your strength check.
At disadvantage because of Hex.
Oh, baby.
Oh, damn.
That's a nat 1 for me.
Okay, yeah, because I rolled with disadvantage. That's a 16 from me.
Yeah. So nothing happens from me trying to grab you at the magic.
Now, I would like to ask again, do I roll to shake blindness at the end of my turn or the beginning of my turn?
It happens on its turn.
At the beginning or the end?
At the end of every turn. Extra save at the end.
It has a very high passive perception, though, and I'm going to say that it is still able to detect things. It knows that its biggest threat is Locke at this point. So as it wrestles away from the negative energy flood, it rights itself to gaze directly at Locke, covering him in its anti-magic cone, and is going to, once again, utilize its eye ray ability.
Oh, no.
Let's see what happens.
Has it moved yet, or
no? It's just been rotated in place.
Okay.
It was
Understood.
yanked down by Kalt. It spun around to face Locke, and I didn't even think about that. But now it is facing Locke. The interesting thing, though, is that the anti-magic cone works on this thing's own eye rays, so it fires across the room at the nearest people it can detect. And Maeve, you're in half cover, so it knows you're there. Jeddah, you are right next to it. Kalt, you are in full cover. Jeddah, you are victim to a beam of energy coming off of one of this thing's many stalks. I would like you to roll a wisdom saving throw.
all right? So in this scenario, that's when my familiars.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. The whisperings in the company of Stuart on your person is enough to give you a little extra mental resolve here.
10. That's with advantage.
You are overcome by a wave of fear. You are now frightened because the deep supernatural energy it has just thrown at you forces you once again to confront that vision of the past. But now, instead of feeling a sense of remembrance, you feel a sense of loss that chills you to your core. You have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of fear is within your line of sight, and you cannot willingly move closer towards it. The second attack is being levied at Kalt. You're going to have advantage on this saving throw, whether because of the cover or because of the mouse. Pick your flavor. But you feel a beam of energy coming at you. Please roll a DC 16 Constitution saving throw, and let's see if you make it.
Has it moved away from me?
It has not. It's looking at you. You are in the center of its anti-magic cone as it flings energy off from its stalks across the room.
So
17 plus 3, 20.
So you got a 20? Okay, you succeed on that throw. Let me get some of these.
What color was the beam, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm going to say green. It's green. How about that?
There's one or two that are just kind of like big old whammies on a...
Do I have the ability to use my sentinel attack against it then?
No, because it hasn't moved.
Right. It's making an attack against someone other than me, and I have the Sentinel Field.
Are these considered attacks? The eye ray things? They're spells. I don't have to roll to hit or anything like that.
I would say that, yeah, that's not an attack.
What?
Yeah, it's casting a spell because like certain spells you have to make attack rolls on them, and certain ones you don't. So I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, it's up to you because it's weird. It's because eye rays break the action economy because
So for that
weird.
reason, unless these are written specifically as attacks that require an attack roll, I'm not going to say the Sentinel thing applies. There's really nothing for you to defend against. It's just a ray of energy.
You're a bitch.
Yeah, I know. You take 18 necrotic damage as you see this beam of green energy coming at you, and you try to duck underneath the cover, but this random attack just baps you right on the head, and it hurts like a motherfucker.
It still hits with a 20?
Well, you take half damage.
Oh, so you are doing spells. You're not doing actual eye rays? Is that what it is?
Going off the block, it has a list of actions, and basically I roll 3 of them randomly, and now I'm just following what each one is described. So Chowder got hit with one, you're getting hit with another. Let me double check full cover rules, because Maeve, you're in full cover.
I'm not, because I'm in half cover, because I went to
You
restrain
stood
it.
back up.
So I
Okay.
am within eyesight.
Maeve,
yeah.
you have been concentrating on the telekinetic spell this whole time, and you're about to get a taste of your own medicine. I'd like you to roll a strength save.
Oh, you son of a bitch. That one.
You are focusing on this spell, trying your best over and over again, every few seconds, to get this thing back under your control until you feel the grip of telekinesis around yourself as a telekinetic ray yanks you out from behind cover and throws you 30 feet straight into the air. You strike the top of this supernatural dome and fall back down. If you need to react on your fall, if you have a way to react, I'll take that now.
Am I going to take impact damage?
Yes. If you
Okay.
don't have a way of breaking the fall, yes, you will take it.
I'm just going to take that impact damage because I'm going to have to make
Okay.
a concentration check.
Yep. You are thrown into the air, and Kalt, Locke, and Jeddah, you all see this as the young girl that you traveled with all this time falls 30 feet onto the ground and takes...
Should be, what, 3d6?
That's correct. Takes 15 bludgeoning damage as she smacks into the ground. Roll a concentration check on that telekinesis for me.
Nat 20 plus 7.
You are slammed into the ground, and despite all the immense pain that you're feeling, the cracking you hear inside your own body, you are able to maintain concentration on this spell. I don't know if you have any like flavor or verbal reactions. You know, Maeve's so quick.
Yeah. So I guess as a reaction, I guess she's gonna have like a single tear go down her face. But then you see her eyes flash red, and she points and she says, "No." I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Ooh,
as I use my tiefling trait to cast Hellish Rebuke.
Hellish Rebuke. That is a 13
Oh,
from
that's
me.
a big fat F. You're going to take
Yep.
2d10 fire damage. Let me roll that real quick.
All right, hit me with it.
7.
7!
7 points. Oh, I can cast it as a second level. Okay, so I'm going to roll another d10. Plus 3. So 10 points of fire damage total.
This thing, Locke, is sitting right in front of you, and as you hear Maeve scream, "No!" little bursts of flame appear all over it, as it is now not just screaming at the pain you've inflicted, but also the fact that it is on fire. You hear the gurgling voice of Masak bellow from deep within this abomination, "We will not be oppressed another day!" As reality begins to strip away from you, and you are once again thrust into another fountain room. You're all a little beaten and bloodied now, but you have a moment to breathe, as you see Masak standing in front of a fountain, ready to cast his spell.
Wait,
How did you get in here? There's supposed to be guards outside the cave.
That's what they always say.
Classic.
Masak, you gotta hear us out, man. You're tampering with time has unintended consequences. It splits the timeline in ways it shouldn't. It unleashes a monster on it. You gotta stop.
Kalt, I know that you have felt some unique frustration that you haven't voiced to the group yet because you haven't really had time. Do you react any differently now that you see Jeddah trying the persuasion angle again?
Kalt is just kind of just like roll his eyes a little bit, and he's got his staff in hand, and he's not going to cast anything yet, but the second that words start, he's going to hold his action. The second that words start to come out of this person's mouth, he is going to cast Fireball.
Okay. Masak turns to you, Jeddah, and says, "The Mage Lords have been tinkering with timelines more than anyone knows. I'm here to set the record straight," and he turns around towards the fountain.
Listen, I know it has been rough. I've been there. I come from a community that were ravaged by the Mage Lords as well. We're working on trying to deal with the Mage Lord problem for good, but this is not the way, man.
Sympathizers, colonizers, it doesn't matter whom, your plans are going to fail, because you know what? Whatever plan you come up with, they don't care about it. They'll appease you, and they'll move the goalposts day after day until they get everything they need. And they won't settle until they have time itself. And I am going to stop them. He turns around and he begins screaming the words, Dar Iulme. Fireball hits him. Tell me how much damage that does.
I was going to cast it through the whatchamacallit, so it's going to be...
You got to make a dex
It's going to be
save.
a 5th level, 33 points of damage.
You smoke check this guy, and he just falls face first onto the ground, his back on fire. Can everybody roll perception for me?
16.
That is...
Natural 20, baby.
13.
Plus 5. So 25 total, but natural 20.
And what was that, Jeddah?
That is 24.
24. You all listen carefully as the crackling on his back subsides, and he mutters, Oh, Amar,
Son of a bitch.
and finishes the spell, thrusting you back into the room, in your previous positions where you all expect to resume the fight, but are surprised to see the abomination itself is shaken to its core and being rent by the forces of time it is trying to harness. This thing has been well and truly defeated, as you can tell by its 3 separate body parts, morphed and disfigured, slithering across the ground in unrecognizable hunks of flesh and blood, each vaguely screaming the last dying wishes of the 3 mad individuals that attempt to steal time from the goddess Laima herself. The fountain in the center of the room remains flickering between its 3 different configurations, and the 3 of you stand in this strange void. What do you do?
Well, I guess we finish this off, right?
We're in a flickering void, and there's 3 bodies in front of us.
Are they alive?
I don't think anyone's seen the first Star Trek movie, but they have a transporter accident where these people turn
they're
into like
goo.
gooey flesh lumps that are screaming as they die. It's that. They're disgusting. It's like the time lock abominations on Nar Enial.
I'm going to walk over to the Mage Lord one first, and I'm just going to take, because my staff has like a blade on it, I'm just going to bring it down on the back of his head.
You do so, and it stops moving.
I go over to the Yanis one and hold her hand and gently whisper to her, sorry this had to happen to you. I know you only meant well.
The 3rd body slithers across the ground. Locke and Maeve, what do you do?
All you, I guess.
What do you mean?
I'll get the next one. I'll get the next abomination transport accident.
I guess I'll
Because it's Fenwick. Maeve has no connection to this
This
guy.
is Musak.
Either way, yeah.
The remnants of Masak are crawling away towards the rainy.
I will go stop Masak, flip him over, and put him out of his misery, I guess.
All right. And Jeddah, did you do the same to Yanis's body?
I'm going to take out a dagger, and where the brain meets the brain stem, I'm going to just quick in and out. I want this to be as quick as painless as possible, and that is the quickest, most painless way to kill someone.
With this existential threat rendered inert, and all 3 people put out of their collective misery, the fountain in the beginning of the room stops flickering and resolves into a single stable fountain, as you all hear a familiar voice say, There you are, all of you, a family again, as Laima appears in front of you.
Patreon.com.
Providing practical
It's
assistance.
encouraging me.
Well,
It's telling me I got this.
Yeah, the help action usually
It's grabbing
necessitates
onto
like
my
a
little,
description.
my little hairs
Colin,
and
I do
pulling.
So really, this is
like, an idea on,
Ratatouille's
like,
turn,
how
and
the-
you've surrendered all agency.
I do have an idea of like how the mice would be helping. Like they're keeping an eye out, like going to your left, and if like an attack's coming that way, and like if there's like a opening, like there's an opening over there that way, and
With
telling
that
them-
description from here on out, I would feel comfortable because basically just giving everyone a permanent advantage on everything because there's a mouse next to them is kind of absurd. But if that's what you're going to be saying, and granted, know that these things cannot speak to anyone but you, I'm comfortable saying that it will help you if you need to roll for a saving throw or a reaction to something. Like if the thing attacks you and you have to roll to resist it, whatever that may be, I'm comfortable saying it can assist with that.
So,
But even that I feel like
Colin.
is pretty generous.
Colin, so there is like the help action. It doesn't like actually, like it depends on like where the creature is essentially. So like for ability checks, the mice can use the help action to like, they can give us advantage on the checks. But what I'm reading here is alternatively, you can aid a friendly creature in attacking a creature within 5 feet of you. You feint, distract the target, or in some way make up for, your ally's attack more effective. So I think the mouse would have to be within range of the thing as well.
The thing is, the mouse is on people's shoulders. The thing I'm struggling with is that in the fiction of this scenario, if we're looking at how Locke swings a halberd, I cannot be reasonably convinced that there is a help action this thing can possibly provide.
Well, it's distracting. So in the thing,
the thing can't see.
Oh, well, it's making distracting noises. It can only hear, right? So
And it's only the first attack with advantage. It's only the first attack. It's not all the attacks.
Bro,
yeah, not all the attacks, just
Okay, well, he's already gotten advantage on three attacks so far.
Well, he already
this is
would
what I'm
have it.
saying.
Wait.
I don't want to undo anything.
No. He would already have advantage because the creature is blind.
This
That
is
I'm
also
fine
true.
with.
Yeah.
That I'm
Oh
fine
my
with, but I need to establish some boundaries on this. That like I respect the creative play on the rule side of things, but the role play side of things, free advantage all the time because there's a mouse on your shoulder just does not square unless it is taking some sort of tremendous physical action. That is like way too much yield for a very low cost. So I will from here on out, I'm going to count you being able to get advantage from these things when resisting something. Either it's a save or a check, but I'm not given free advantage on every attack.
All I'm hearing right
that
now,
strains so much credulity.
Colin, is I'm Colin, and I hate fun. That's
because
all.
he still has advantage. Locke still has advantage because of the blind.
That's fair.
Why does this not work?
I know that like Block of Familiars is a very Say again?
Pat, rolling in the thing. I think you have to do a backslash now. They changed the prompt thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah,
like Flock of Familiars is a very powerful ability.
Why
when
can you
like,
do it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, no, I'll grant you what I've granted you, but yeah, no more free advantage on attacks. That is absurd.
You have to type /roll first and then do it. Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, go ahead. Or we just get okay. There we go. There's Pat's roll.
No, yeah. So anyway, I got a 31, a nat 20, and then a 26.